All right. Section 1.7 of Algebra 2. Solve absolute value equations and inequalities. So, first thing we need to talk about, is what does absolute value mean? You guys did learn this in high school algebra 1 there. Uh, what absolute value, the definition, the formal definition, which you guys are going to see in math, and it's going to look really confusing, is that x, if x is a positive number, it's going to be 0 if x is 0, and negative x if x is a negative number. Basically, absolute value tells you the distance from 0. So absolute value is your distance from 0. If I'm on the number line. So if I'm at -7, my distance is 7. Remember, you cannot do a negative distance. If I'm at 7 on the number line, my distance from 0 is 7. So distance away from 0. Well, let's look and let's graph these on a number line. So if I have absolute value of x equals 2, the numbers that I can put into that absolute value, well, I can put 2 or I can put -2. So really, x equals 2 or x equals -2, because either of those two, if I put them in, they're going to come out as 2. So I need to graph those points. The first one I'm going to graph is at -2. So remember, if it equals that, all I need to do is put a dot. At 2, I'm going to put a dot. So I have 2 dots there. Now, if you want to put them above, like what I was doing with the inequalities, feel free. I'm going to put them on the dot or on the line just for now. All right, now we're going to go and we need to solve a little bit more tricky problems. Really, what comes out of that absolute value, so if I were to cover up that absolute value, I would easily be able to see that my answers has to equal either -7 or 7. Well, now all we have to do is get rid of that piece and actually look at that x plus 4 piece. Well, really, we're going to split that up into 2 pieces. X plus 4 can equal -7, and x plus 4 can equal 7. So we solve it both the same way. We subtract 4 on both sides to get x equals -11, or subtract 4, x equals 3. You guys can kind of look. These look very similar to compound inequalities. Now my number line down here doesn't get me what I need to do, so I'm going to change the numbers quickly. With a little magic, you guys can see that I change those numbers. And now I'm going to plot my points. Well, if it is x equals 3, well, if x equals 3, put a dot on there. And then x equals -11, well, that's going to be right there. And since I don't actually have that point on there exactly, I'm going to put my points above them so you guys can see them. All right, now we're going to solve and graph these ones. Let's do another one very similar to the last one we did here. So again, we're going to split this up to 2x minus 9 equals -15, or 2x minus 9 equals +15. Again, solving it in the same way, so add 9 to both sides. So we get 2x equals -6, divide by 2, divide by 2, x equals -3, or, and again we do the same exact steps, add 9, 2x equals, now this is where it gets trickier, it's going to be 24, so it's not the same thing as that, so divide by 2, x equals 12. So we have x equals -3 or x equals 12. Now if we graph that number line, we're going to go here 0, here's -3, there's my dot, and 12, you're looking at 3, 6, 9, we'll add that one there. So we'll be at 12 here. And there's my number line. Beautifully graphed, I know, I'm such an artist. All right, we're going to go to this one again, split it up into 2 places, but wait a second. Absolute values, can they ever come out negative? Can the number inside the absolute value ever come out to be a negative number? Well, the answer is no. So I can stop right now just by looking at this, saying that it's equal to a negative number, and I know there's no solution. So I don't even need to do any work, because once I know that that equals a negative number coming out of the absolute value, I'm done. All right, let's try this problem. Again, we're going to have 2 solutions where 4x plus 12 equals -28, and 4x plus 12 equals +28. Subtract 12 from both sides, so 4x equals -40, divide by 4, x equals -10. And on this one, minus 12, 4x equals 16, divide by 4, x equals 4. So, or, and again, graph our number line, 0, negative 10, close that above if you want to do it above there, 4, close that above if you want to put it above, or you can put it right on the line. It's up to you on how you want to graph it. Now, one thing I've been beginning to do, and it says on the left there, is don't forget to check your answers. So we need to make sure we check our answers, and I should have been doing that from the get-go. But this is where it's going to start to get very true that we need to start doing that. Now, before I can split this up, I need to get rid of everything on the outside of the absolute value. By that, I mean these numbers here. So just like when we were solving before, we need to get rid of those. We're going to add 4 first to get rid of those. So we get 3 times the absolute value of x plus 7 equals 12. Now to get rid of that 3, we need to divide by 3 on both sides. So we get the absolute value of x plus 7 equals 4. Now is where I split it up. So we get x plus 7 equals 4, negative 4, or x plus 7 equals 4. Subtract 7, not x plus 7, we just got rid of that 7. X equals negative 11, or x equals negative 3, if I subtract 7 on both sides. Now we have to go and we have to make sure that both of these work. So let's plug them in. So I'm going to plug in first over here. I'm going to plug in 3 times negative 11 plus 7 minus 4 equals 8. So negative 7 plus 11 equals negative 4 minus 4 equals 8. So absolute value of negative 4, so it's 3 times 4 minus 4 equals 8. So we should put question marks there, sorry. So 12 minus 4, does that equal 8? Well, of course, 12 minus 4 equals 8. It's 8 equals 8. So that got that one. Let's check the other piece there. Let's check the other one. So instead of having it be negative 11, I'm going to go and I'm going to check and make sure the other piece works with negative 3. So 3 times the absolute value of negative 3 plus 7 minus 4 equals 8, question mark. So 3 times the absolute value of 4 minus 4, does it equal 8? 3 times 4 minus 4, does it equal 8? Does 12 minus 4 equal 8? Well, yes, 8 equals 8. So that works. So both answers are indeed solutions to this problem. Let's do this next problem. Let's check this guy out. This is where it's going to get much more important to check all your answers. So first thing is, let's split this up, and we have 4x plus 10. Instead of a number, it actually is going to equal negative 6x. Or 4x plus 10 equals positive 6x. So now again, I'm going to move the x's over to get rid of that. So I'm going to make it negative 4x minus 4x. Those cancel out. So 10 equals 2x. Sorry, it's not going to equal 2x. It's going to equal negative 10x. Almost missed my negative there. Negative 10x. Divide by negative 10. Divide by negative 10. So really, x equals negative 1. Does that work? Well, we'll test it in a second. And now we're going to have 4x, so subtract 4x from both sides, subtract 4x from both sides, so we get 10 equals 2x, divide by 2, and we get 5x equals 5. So we have to test each of these pieces. Let's plug it in. So I'm going to plug in negative 1 first. So the absolute value of 4 times negative 1 plus 10, does that equal 6 times negative 1? Well, I can stop right now and I can look that negative 4, right here, I can do negative 4 plus 10. The absolute value of that, does it equal negative 6? Well, look, it's a negative number. That number's not going to work, so I immediately know I can cross that out as a solution. This problem will not be an answer. But let's try 5. So 4 times 5 plus 10 equals 6 times 5. So then we'll get absolute value of 20 plus 10. Does that equal, question mark, 30? What equals the absolute value of 30? So yeah, 30 does equal 30. So here is our only answer that works for that problem. All right, I want you guys to try this problem on your own. Check your answer, see if it works. Tell me which answers do work and which don't. All right, once you check your guys' answers, you should realize both solutions work because -4/3 times 2 is going to get you -8/3, and adding 9 will make it a positive number, which makes it end up working out. All right, so absolute value inequality. So it's going to be the same thing with absolute values except for we're going to solve these and we're going to do inequality symbols with it. So really this part right here is going to become x is greater than 5. Now this is the trick because we have to flip-flop the sign when we make it negative, so x is less than -5. So it becomes an or statement there, and you need to graph that part. Well, we don't know if it becomes an or statement. We got to graph this part, so x is greater than 5, so here's my 5, greater than, and again, I like to put my dot over it, so dot over it, arrow, x is less than -5, dot over it, arrow, and we do realize this is going to be an or statement. Again, the same thing happens for this one. X is less than or equal to 3. X is greater than or equal to -3. Now let's plot these points to see if it becomes, if we can write it as an end statement. So it's at -3, we do get bigger. At 3, we get less. It should be written as one fluid statement. So -3 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 3. Now we need to do a little bit trickier one where we actually have to solve the problem and then graph it. So again, let's split this up. This becomes x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 6. And then we have to flip the sign when we make it negative. Less than or equal to -6. Subtract 4. And we get x is greater than or equal to 2. Subtract 4. And we get x is less than or equal to -10. Graph those points. So we have 2, 0, -10, close dot, it's less than that, and close dot, it's greater than that, so it's an or statement. So we can just write the or in between there, and there's our solution. I'm going to leave these last ones for you guys to try. I'll put up the answers here in a second. So I want you guys to pause and try these ones on your own. Again, I will do these, I'll show the answers in a second. If you guys don't have the printout, make sure you look online to get it. I have it on there for the notes. And you guys can try each of these problems on your own, and then I'll do the answers here in 1 second. All right, here are the answers. I'll scroll down slowly so you can look at them for a little bit. While I'm doing that, this is all I'm going to talk about for section 1.7. So make sure you guys go back and rewatch anything you need to watch. Pause it where you need to pause it. So if you need to pause it right now when you're doing this to check your answers, please do so. Make sure you guys got things right. Step by step I go in there and you guys can see everything.